Hey there, welcome back. And it's a pleasure to have Martin with us. Martin is a naval aviator. He is stationed on the West Coast of the United States. And Martin's going to tell us how he got there. So, Martin, thank you for joining and thank you for your service.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me. Yeah, so like you mentioned, I'm a naval aviator. I fly the EP-3 Ares aircraft. But as you know, it started a long time ago. So in high school, I was trying to get into the service academies. At the time, I applied to the Naval Academy, Merchant Marine Academy, and the Coast Guard Academy. But in order to prep for that, um, I was taking a bunch of different courses for the standardized testing that we had to do. And then I was on the cross country team. I was on the swim team. I joined a year round swim club to be better for the high school team and compete more often that way. I was an Eagle Scout, so I took all of the pieces of action that you had to take in order to achieve that goal. And then
So what you did during high school is you tried to check all the boxes that basically that are there to get a nomination and an appointment to a service academy. Eagle
I,
Scout, cross, team sport, etc.
I
Grades.
did.
Yeah.
I did, yeah. Make sure, obviously, I had to make sure that I had the grades to move forward, and then the service academies all have their own application, and then I asked for nominations from anyone who would see me in the state of Colorado.
So you're from Colorado.
I was, yeah, I'm from
Wow.
Colorado originally. I applied to both of the senators at the time, and then the House of Representatives, Jared Polis at the time, and then at the time again, also House of Representatives Cory Gardner. I was able to get a nomination from Mr. Gardner,
To
and
where?
so I was originally that one was for the Naval Academy,
Okay.
and then when I saw that, I called back and asked if there were any Merchant Marine Academy nominations available, and they also said yes.
So you had a nomination to the Naval Academy
Mhm.
and you asked for a nomination to the Merchant Marine Academy.
I did.
Really? From
I did.
Colorado,
I did. Yeah,
the
I
great
asked.
maritime state of Colorado.
Weirdly enough, yeah, we when I eventually did get to the Merchant Marine Academy, there were a lot more people from this Colorado than I thought there were going to be.
So
Just based
so so what
on,
so what was your plan? I mean, Colorado obviously is, a long way from, any ocean.
Mhm.
How'd you get from go wanted to go to the Naval Academy to the Merchant Marine Academy from Colorado?
So my parents took my brother and I to the Naval Academy to see the campus and
Mhm.
see how it goes there. But then while we were there, we went along the East Coast and visited a number of colleges. And we saw the sign for the Merchant Marine Academy and pulled over and wondered what that was. Drove in, walked around, scheduled. At the time, they were doing like outreach interview sort of thing where
Mhm.
there were a bunch of prospective candidates who would go into a room with the recruiting center. You'd do an interview with them and your parents. They'd ask a number of questions. You could ask them questions. It was a very informative session, which had me originally. I didn't know about the Merchant Marine Academy, so I was just applying to the Naval Academy. Then again, I broadened my scope, applied to Merchant Marine as well. Um, and then when I
Wow, that is truly a non-traditional way of getting to a service academy. But just to go off, when I speak at the senators and the congressmen's all academy days, one of the things I tell them, because I live in New Jersey, is that here on the East Coast of the United States, you have every service academy within 3 to 4 hours of each other, but for the Air Force Academy, which is closer to your home.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the major gist is I always wanted to fly specifically for the Navy because, in my personal opinion, they're
Mhm.
better pilots than the Air Force is.
Good. I'm
So
glad. I'm glad to hear that. As a
yeah,
former naval officer, I think that's a very true statement.
yeah. Call it a point of pride, but you can back it up.
Mhm.
So I was, we've been I've been trying to be a naval aviator for seriously as long as I can remember. And that was something that they told us in the interview with Richard Rain, is that it is an effective way to get into naval flight school.
Well,
Um,
obviously it was. So tell me about your experience at Kings Point, the Merchant Marine Academy.
yeah, so again, as on my first year of application, I didn't get in,
Oh,
which is
okay.
okay. I was determined to make it. So in the letter, they suggested that I go do a year of college. They gave me a couple suggestions, and one of them was the New Mexico Military Institute in Roswell, where I did apply and was accepted. Went through their service academy prep program for a year, and then reapplied to the Merchant Marine Academy and others, and was accepted to Merchant Marine on the second try.
I say
Uh,
so effectively on this channel, I've talked a lot about prep schools. Effectively, they recommended that you go to the Merchant Marine Academy prep school, which you did, and that was a 1 year program.
yeah, so their service academy prep program is designed as 1 year. If you show up without a sponsorship, it's not guaranteed, of course, but
Hmm.
in some cases they're able to sponsor you. But it's a 2 year junior college with an Army ROTC availability, standard military college stuff. But yes, it was 1 year.
All right, good. So you did NIMI, they call it NIMI. So you did NIMI. I guess you took all the calc, physics, chemistry, all the STEM classes there. And
Mm-hmm.
then you
Yeah,
and then you went and then you went to Kings Point,
mm-hmm.
and that's a 4 year college. So
It is.
tell us a little bit about what you did there and how you used that experience at Kings Point to get to where you are now.
Okay. Yeah. So at Kings Point, your first year is your plebe year, and that's a grind. There's no way around that. That's a tough year on anybody. You take a lot of the hardcore math, physics courses. I was a deckie, so that was a little bit rougher on me than maybe some of the engineers, more technical minded individuals are. Um, but then you're also doing a number of things within the regiment. You're a plebe, so you have to do extra duty. You know, there's extra trainings and things like that for you specifically, done by the first class midshipman. And then at the end of my plebe year, I was a B split sailor, so I went to sea.
Oh, really?
I did.
For how long?
So I was at sea from June to November. So I don't know, I wasn't on ship the entire time, but that was my sea term. I
Okay.
stayed late on my ship to just try and get a couple extra sea days and do a little bit extra work on a project.
So what kind of ship were you on and where did you go?
I was able to get onto a MSC high speed transport. So it's a joint high speed transport vessel, TEPF class ship. And we were in Little Creek, Virginia. And we did a number of drills throughout about loading tanks, unloading tanks. We did a set of sea trials to test the engines on that. They were very new ships at the time. Um, so my job as the deck cadet was to assist with cargo loading. I helped up on the bridge with navigation. We do lines, and then the good old fashioned shipping and painting that you can expect.
So that experience and that shipping experience you had, you were exposed to, I guess that's the Navy. It's the Navy. The SEALs are in Little Creek, I know. So you were exposed to the big Navy, the big military with that experience.
I did, yeah. I got to experience a very interesting interface between civilian mariners and big Navy at that time, because
Mhm.
the crew was all civilian mariners, but we carried naval personnel and Marines on board the vessel, so we
Oh,
got to
wow.
see that interaction up close.
Okay, so you did your third class year, and now
Mhm.
you went back to school.
Yeah,
So
so yeah, so at the end of that sailing period, you know, we're trimesters at Kings Point, so you do one trimester at school and then you go back to sea,
oh, wow.
which that trimester is a little bit more stability classes, some more navigation classes, things like that. And then for my second sea term, I started off on a Navy destroyer, the USS Steedham, and sailed around. We were doing South China Sea patrols, East China Sea patrols, that sort of thing. And then from there, I went to a Maersk tanker, the Maersk Michigan,
So
and
you
I was
went so you went from the ships that do the sinking to the ships that sink,
yeah, something
basically.
like that. Something like that. Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that I got the most exposure to everything I could. I started off with MSC. I wanted to see what actual big Navy was, and
Hmm.
then the full-on civilian side of things. So Maersk Michigan, full-on ammo Union vessel, um, and I learned a ton on that ship. It was very much, I have the responsibility of I'm going to be working all of these lines. If something breaks on deck, it's me and the pumpman who are going to go out and fix it, sort of thing. And the whole time you're doing all of your C projects that will need to be completed upon return to school. Um, yeah, so I don't know. I was on the Michigan for 90 days, and it was one of the fastest and learning experiences that I've ever been a part of.
Wow.
It was
Wow.
very
And
much sink or
now,
swim.
so now you go back to school
Mhm.
and you have to
Uh,
finish your second class year and you roll into your first class year.
yeah, yeah. Rolled into the first class year, which is again the last couple of college classes that will be associated with your bachelor's degree. So we had an English class, a couple science class, and then finishing out our navigation and stability classes. And then that's also your year that you're going to be testing for your license. So we had to take a number of SDCW required
Now
courses.
this is the merchant marine license that's issued by the Coast Guard.
Yes, yes, that's correct.
Okay, so in this first class year, so how did you begin the process of applying to become a naval pilot?
So we have a component at the Merchant Marine Academy staffed by naval officers. It's sort of the Navy kind of treats it like ROTC, in that you go in and talk to them about what you're looking for, right?
Hmm.
And from the Merchant Marine Academy, everyone's obligated to graduate as a naval reservist or reservist in some form or fashion. Most choose the naval reserves. So they're built to get you through as a reservist, and then you can sail, or excuse me, proceed active duty if you so choose.
Hmm.
So I went in, and they have essentially an interview process there and an application process at that piece of the school, and then you go through that process. For flight testing specifically, there's an ASTB, which is uh, a naval history, a written exam, and then there's also a motor skills portion where they have you memorize some lines. You're trying to move. They give you a joystick and throttle, and then you're
Hmm.
trying to map those on some cursors around the screen while they're having you like recite what you just memorized. So that's the basic aviation test battery, and then based on where you score on that and where how your interview goes and how your application goes, you may be offered a slot as a student naval aviator or a student naval flight officer. So
And that's what you got.
I did.
Wow.
I was offered a student naval aviator slot, and I signed for it the next Monday.
Hmm.
So
Well,
I
good for
was
you. Good for you. So just let me just so one of the things that I know about the Merchant Marine Academy is that graduates are required to either sail on their license or they can go active duty. But if
mhm,
they also have a choice of going into any branch of the service, I mean, any branch of service, from the
mhm,
Coast Guard to the Space Force and everything in between. So you
mhm.
chose to go active duty Navy.
I did. I did. Yeah, my class was actually has one of the first people who went active duty Space Force. So yeah, you can go any one of those that you can get into on actually.
Wow. Wow. Okay, so your first class year, you took your Merchant Marine license, which I guess you don't use, but probably it's
I do
good to
not.
have. And then you graduated, and
Mhm.
what happened after that?
So I graduated, and my class update for flight school was in October. So I had 6 months where uh, the Merchant Marine Academy could have used me as what they call stash ensign, assisting with paperwork, assisting with the next group's interview process, etc. I had a friend who graduated the year before, Danny, who was able to stash with a fighter squadron in Virginia Beach. So I went down to Virginia Beach and stashed with VFA 87. And
Yeah,
I was,
much more interesting than sitting up at the academy with a bunch of incoming plebes.
yeah, I figured I better start learning what was going to be expected of me
Hmm.
as early on as I could. So I went to sea with them on a carrier. I was able to go to Fallon to a Top Gun evolution for them. So I got
Oh,
to see
cool.
their training and workups and everything that
Mm.
they do. And I was very excited with what my future held at that point. So the first piece is you go to Pensacola, and you're at the time um, you have to go through knife, which is a introductory, or excuse me, now it is knife. At the time, it was introductory flight school, where you do some laps in a Cessna just to get the idea of whether or not like you can even handle that. And basically, they're ramping up speeds on you. It's the Cessna starts at 100 knots, and it goes up from there. And then you have pre-flight training, which at the end of that you will earn your flight suit, and that is a 6-week course of testing of navigation, engineering. Everything in the Navy is a gas turbine, so you have to understand the inner workings of
Mhm.
gas turbine engines, that sort of thing. Um, Flight regulations, rules, that sort of thing. So honestly, the instruction that I received at Kings Point for navigation is extremely similar. It was very helpful learning through that piece. The only difference is you're doing your planning at 200 knots instead of 20. Um, and then from there, you'll go to primary squadron, which is available in either Corpus Christi, Texas, or to stay in Pensacola. Um, I went to Corpus Christi and flew the T6 B trainer. And then out of primary training, you'll select into an advanced track. So I went to the Maritime Patrol track, stayed in Corpus Christi, Texas, and learned multi-engine flying, flying the T-44 Pegasus. And then from there, I went to Jacksonville. At the completion of advanced training is when you earn your wings. And then from there, you go to a fleet replacement squadron, which for the Maritime Patrol community is all in Jacksonville, Florida.
So Jackson, Florida. So you spent basically almost your whole training period along the Gulf
I did.
Coast. Yeah.
I did, yeah. And
Yeah.
then from Jacksonville, I ended up in Whidbey Island, Washington.
Okay, we're back. We had a minor technical glitch with our internet, so we're gonna pick up where we left off. So Marty, you were talking about Jacksonville.
Yeah, so I started Fleet Replacement Squadron, Jacksonville VP-30. I was learning the P3C uh, Orion aircraft, and then moving on to my fleet aircraft, the EP-3. And then since flying that, I've been on deployments to Japan, Bahrain, and I'm headed to Greece here pretty soon.
Oh wow. So your base is in Whidbey Island. That's in Washington State.
Mhm.
So that's in one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Yeah, by far.
Yeah.
I love that I'm stationed here. It's been an incredible journey.
Right. And how long do you think that you'll be there? I mean, do they move you guys around a lot? Or like it's like a typical military rotation every 2 to 3 years? Or how does that work?
Yeah, so my initial orders were written as 36 month orders. So, and your standard JO tour is 3 years, and then you'll move on to into a production tour, is what they call it, as an instructor, ideally. So I'd go back to Pensacola or Corpus or Jacksonville or something like that as an instructor pilot.
Okay, so you are a full lieutenant now.
I am
Okay, and so you graduated in 2019. So that is what's that? 5 years ago.
5 years ago. Yeah,
5 years ago. And what's your position? Are you the senior pilot on the airplane or?
I am. I'm the electronic warfare aircraft commander. I qualified as mission commander, so, but I'm going out with a crew just as the aircraft commander. I'm also carrying a number of naval flight officers on board, and one of them
Mhm.
is going to be the mission commander.
Oh, so how many people, can you tell me how many people usually fly on that airplane?
So full complement is 24 people
Oh my
uh,
God.
with a 5-man flight crew.
Oh my God. So it's like almost like a commuter plane, the size of the, not as
It's
comfortable though.
it's packed. It's
I can
definitely not a
imagine.
yeah, we still use the seats from the Apollo missions on there. So
Wow.
we've got 3 pilots on board and 2 enlisted flight engineers. And that's my flight crew that I get to take on the road.
Wow. So that's a lot of responsibility. I mean, it's not only, just you and the airplane, it's you and a lot of people. So, good for you. Good for you. So if you had to, so a lot of people that watch this are prospective academy candidates. There's a lot of guys in high school, a lot of gals in high school who look at this. And,
Mhm.
I give a lot of advice on, prepping for interviews. But if you had to tell somebody, the one or maybe three things, let's put three things that they
Okay.
should do to get into an academy and to get to where they want to be. So obviously you had a plan. You wanted to fly,
Mhm.
probably since high school, you said, and you made that work going through a unusual path, which is the Merchant Marine Academy to get there. And you didn't go to Naval Academy or Air Force Academy. So what were the three things or maybe five things or whatever you would tell them to do?
Um, so the first one's going to sound pretty cliche, as study hard,
Mhm.
but that never leaves. I'm still studying. I it started in high school. You have to do well on your academics there. You have to do well in the standardized testing there in order to even be considered for service academy. So prioritize that, and then those study skills that you learn through high school, college, etc., that carries through. I have a NATOPS this big that I have to have memorized, so that sticks the entire time. Make studying count the whole way through. Um, and then I'm gonna punch physical training. It's not easy in any one spot. Um, and yes, the bar to get over is not necessarily the highest one, but one day, if and you as a aircraft commander or something of that nature, your entire crew may be relying on your physical ability to hold a plane in the air. So take that seriously. It's part of your job.
Mhm.
Then the last piece is going to be, if something didn't go the way that you thought it was going to go, work to make it go that way. I didn't get into an academy the first try. They just try again. Work, do what they'll give you a letter that says, these are the things that we're looking for. Do that. Go to a college, study hard there, try again.
Mhm.
So every wall will be knocked down eventually by hard work. There's just no way around that.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly. I mean, I think that's really good advice. So I'd like to thank you so much, for doing this. Know that you told me, off camera here, that you're flying out in the next week or so, and be safe. I know that Greece is a wonderful place to be, but I know that you're going to be doing other things other than laying on the beach in Greece. So be safe, and thank you for your service, and thank you for your time. And
Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
so I am going to end the interview right now. And Martin, we look forward to talking to you in the future.
Thank you very much. I'll be excited to see.
Okay, thank you so much.